All right, so let's go ahead and move in. So the first thing we want to do is create this new package called entity to hold our entity class. Let's move here and let's go ahead and create a new package. And the name of the package is entity. And now we'll create a new class called student. Let me go ahead and expand my window here for a second. And let's go ahead and map this class to a database table. So we need to start with the entity annotation. And then to map it to a table, I make use of the table annotation and give the name of the table. And so in this example here, the name of the table is student. And now we'll go through and map our fields to the database columns. Let me zoom in here for a second. I'll start off by just writing some quick comments to myself just to kind of keep myself on track. What I'll do here is I'll define the fields, define the constructors, the getters and setters, and finally a toString method. I know I'm going to have 4 fields here, ID, first name, and last name. I'll start off with the ID field. And we know that the ID field is our primary key for this given student, so I'll make use of the ID annotation. And then I specify how this value is generated. I'll say generated value, strategy equals generation type dot identity. And remember, the dot identity basically says, hey, we'll let MySQL handle the auto increment on that given ID. And then here I map it to the actual database column name. So I give column and I give name equals ID. So again, matching to the actual database column name. And let's do a similar thing here for the next field, first name. And then we'll map this to the database column. And the database column is named first underscore name. So be sure you match it up just right here. I have a little typo, I missed a semicolon. Put the semicolon down there. Okay, that's good. And now what I'd like to do is just kind of copy paste this line for some of the other fields. So I'll copy this and paste it X number of times. And then I'll go through and update it. So we already did first name. So now this is really last name. So last underscore name. And I'll say field name is last name. That takes care of last name. And then we also have email. So the column name is email and update the field to be email. Okay, it's kind of scrolling back a bit. So this looks pretty good. So defining our fields, and then we actually map these fields to the appropriate database columns. So make sure your code kind of follows what I have here on the screen for those fields. Now let's move down here to this next section for defining the constructors. And what I'll do is I'll start off by defining a no argument constructor. And what I'll do is I'll also create a constructor that accepts arguments. So I'll actually make use of this feature here in the IDE to generate the constructor based on fields. And most major IDEs can do this, like IntelliJ, Eclipse, NetBeans. They can generate the constructors for you. What I'll do here for generating this constructor is that I'll say, use the 3 fields, first name, last name, and email. Don't include ID because we're not going to use that for creating the items. So you should have this new constructor here, student, that has 3 arguments, first name, last name, and email. And again, any IDE can generate this type of code for you. Pretty simple. And a nice feature of the IDE. We can also go through and generate our getter and setter methods. And then for generating the getter and setter methods, be sure to choose all of your fields, ID, first name, last name, and email. So all 4 of those. And then finally, we'll have our IDE generate a toString method for us. And we'll go ahead and select all of those fields here, and then allow it to generate it for us. Okay, this looks pretty good. Now, one thing to be aware of is that if you're an advanced developer, you may have read about other types of solutions, something like Lombok to help minimize coding and so forth. If you have experience using Lombok, feel free to use it. However, I'm not going to use it at this point because I don't want to introduce too many new technologies. I like to kind of see the code and see how everything works. And once we get the basics working, then you can get very sophisticated and add in all those other frameworks if you'd like. But here, our IDE can help us out with this, and we can make use of code foldings to hide the code accordingly. So anyway, that's in place and ready to go. I simply wanted to make that statement because folks always pipe up about some new favorite framework or whatever. Okay, so the coding here looks pretty good. So we have our student class mapped to a database table, and we also map the fields to the appropriate database columns. So this looks really good. Good job.